Come back at my campsite. Now I was going to film putting up the tarp, but I threw a tarp up pretty quick. It's just one ridge line, a few toggles through the holes. A couple of bits of line just to hold the back up and a stick. Because looking at those clouds, I think we're going to get some rain, which is fine. We need some rain. So today I'm setting up a little campfire. As always, put a base in the bottom of the fire. Most important thing, I actually have 3 buckets of water with me today. I'll show you in a minute. Yep. But better to have too many than not enough. So I have a whole bunch of bits there. I'll just split some up. Like I say, I was going to film that bit, but we will stick a bunch of those on there. The mosquitoes are relentless, so I'm putting a bunch of this on here. Old man's beard, Spanish moss, whatever you want to call it. It smokes, and because it smokes, mosquitoes hate it. So put it in there. As always, I save up my abundance of old receipts. People throw these things away. They're not really recyclable because the paper that they're made of is not really recyclable. It's like that printer paper kind of stuff. But they are remarkably good at helping get campfire going. Makes good use of old receipts. I also do this with lottery tickets. If I buy lottery tickets and I don't win, I always put those in the fire too. Because there's something quite satisfying about lighting a campfire with a lottery ticket that didn't win. Right, now I need my kit here. Let me show you my other kit. I always show you that fire kit. I have another fire kit in here too. If I can find it. Yes. This is my other fire kit. This is my it will light in the winter. I have to light a fire no matter what, otherwise you're going to die kind of kit. These things, these used to be made in Alberta. Company stopped making them. They're like a sawdust, if you like, full of wax. And these things burn remarkably well. I have thousands of these, so I will put a couple in there. I also have a candle. One of the things you can do with a candle is obviously you can use it for light. These things allegedly burn for 6 hours. These are the giant tea lights and have a little metal base as well, so you can put them in areas that, you know, maybe a bit worried about having a fire. But the wax off here, you can scrape the wax off, put it on some of the wood. You'd be surprised the difference that makes for getting it going. And of course, my ever trusty, if I can get one out, might have to use a stick on this one. Sometimes I have to use a little stick. This pot needs topping up. Cotton ball with Vaseline, literally one spark, and that stuff's away. So that's the other kit. Everything that you carry, make sure you have multiple fire kits. You need lots of different ways to light a fire. I have all kinds of gear for fire. I also have my tea today. I have probably 3 or 4 different fire stills with me. I have a lighter with me. But as I've said before, these were cheap, cheerful. Can't remember who makes them now. This thing glows in the dark, which is handy. If I can get, see, one spark on there, and we are away. I need some smoke. These mosquitoes are getting up my nose, literally. So let's make some smoke. And the best way to do that, this Spanish moss stuff, It burns really fast. It's actually pretty good for getting the fire going. But let's just put some little bits on there. Hey presto, job done. As always, secure your gear as soon as you finish with it. Bear spray, essential. Yep. Never leave home without it. And we are now good to go. Got a couple more split ones up there. I've got some more over there. What I'm going to do today before I go is actually split up a bunch. I'll show you a very simple trick for making an improvised sawhorse. A lot of people, they make if you see the bushcraft videos, they make the full-size horse so you can cut wood here, which is great if you're in a spot where you need to be for some time. However, what you can also do is if you take a log like this, I'll show you on this tree, take a log, lean it up against the tree, take the piece of wood that you want to cut, lay it across here, put your boot on it, you are now ready to cut firewood. And that's exactly what I'm going to do in a bit. It's a rather nice. This is actually full of fat wood. This is absolutely soaked in resin, which is why I'm keeping this piece. Some of the smaller bits that I have hidden away, I will, and because winter's coming, what I'm going to do is before I leave today, I'll chop up a bunch. I'll show you how to make one of those improvised stands. There's several ways that you can make an improvised sawhorse. I see people put in, let me show you. I see people put in logs between their legs and cut them like this. That seems to be quite a trendy thing to do. However, if you was to slip while you're doing it, you've got a big log on it, you was to fall forward, what's that doing? That's putting pressure on your knee. And if you was to fall forward, like with that in there, you will literally pull your knee apart. Is that a good idea? No, not when there's way simpler ways of doing it. You can do the log up against the tree. What I'm going to do later is I'm going to cut a stake about this long, and then I tie it to the bottom of the tree so that it's at a 45 degree with a piece sticking out, and then you can lay logs across here. I'll show you better as soon as I've got this all sorted. I'll show you better in a bit. And then, I'll show you how to do that properly. So you're not going to dislocate your knee, you're not going to hurt yourself, because the one thing you don't want to do when you're out in the middle of nowhere is sustain an injury. So everything that you can do to limit that possibility is worth doing. Yeah. I see people doing some crazy things. Now I've put a base in the bottom of the fire here, as you know that I do all the time. Put a base in the bottom of the fire here. Those 3 split logs in the bottom there, they're just there to keep the fire up off the ground, because if you look at the ground is soaking wet. So the motto of the story is keep the fire up off the ground and you'll be good. So I've put up an improvised shelter. It's just a tarp. I always make sure I have a tarp with me. To do the ridge line, very, very simple. I just have little pegs through the holes. Makes it real simple. It keeps the front edge nice and straight. The standard stick up in the middle. Hey presto, you've got a roof and all the water can fall off, because it is supposed to rain. So, and we might get some heavy rain this afternoon. So I wasn't going to put that up, but looking at the rain, it was actually raining when I set off this morning. So yes, Mr. Squirrel, I can hear you. Yeah. Squirrel's getting upset. Yeah. So that is home sweet home for a little while. At least for today. I'm not doing an overnight, because this time of the year without a tent, you can build all kinds of shelters and they look great in the videos, but it's not worth losing the 5 pints of blood for by morning, because the mosquitoes have literally drained you dry. Yeah. Now I have, Yes, I know, I have a lot of water for fire stuff. I've got my little one. The creek is not running very well, so I had to put a bunch of water in my black bucket there, filling up with a small bucket, and then I have my big bucket on the end. That's big white bucket stays out here, and I need to do that differently. That bucket stays out here, and the other two come with me. But always, as I've said in the past, always make sure you know how you're going to put a fire out before you light one. And I'm not having a huge fire today. The fire, as you can see, the fire ring is quite large, but I always keep the fire in the middle, so that there's between the fire and the rocks there's a layer of that sandy, clayey kind of garbage soil that really doesn't do a great deal, doesn't burn, doesn't really do a great deal. That makes for a good fire base. I don't know if I'm going to continue to use this site. I may do, depending on, there is some logging going on in this area. Well, if they come up through here and log all this lot, obviously I'll have nowhere to build my campsite. But there are not many very big trees in here, so I don't think they're going to log this. There is nothing in here worth taking. So, yeah, as you can see, fire's building up a reasonable amount of embers, which is all you want. And I shall do some more in a bit. Right, so this is how you set up an improvised sawhorse. What I've done is, as I've mentioned in the past, I've got a stake, just put it in the ground. This is just a foot or so off the ground. I mean, you can take two of these and put them at working height if you want. You can put them here, and if you've got another tree like that one there, you can put another stake along it, and you can lay your wood across the front here, and you can cut while standing up. Personally, it doesn't really make much difference. What I've done is I put a stake in the ground, just a short stake, sharpened the point, banged it in the ground. Now this stuff, this black stuff, is that Velcro tape that I tell you about, that I use on all my stuff. I use it for packing up stuff. And then all you do is you just take your log, put it on there, put your boot on it, holds it still while you chop it up. Actually works very, very well. Let's put that on there. My trusty Silky always does a brilliant job. Love this thing. So you can just put your boot on there and you can hold it, because don't get no easier than that. Using this technique, you can very quickly, as you can see, process well, that wood smells good. It smells good. Right, now when you get to a piece like this, the bottom end of this log, as you can see, is pretty rot. I don't really have any reason to keep that. I might get one more log out of that, I guess. Oh, this bottom bit's pretty. Yeah, that bottom bit's pretty soft. So we will give that back to the forest. That can go over there and rot away. And that is how you make a very simple sword. Takes 5 minutes, processes 2 hours worth of wood. Easy, isn't it? Yeah, that's a very simple way of doing it. Doesn't get much easier than that. And like I say, you can set this up. I like it there because I can just put my boot on it, holds it still. If it's up here, you've got to use the other hand on it. So I actually prefer it at that height. That way I only have to cut one stake. But if you have a couple of trees that are this far apart, you can easily put another one off of here and just use that as a support up through there. Real easy. Yeah. Right, so looks like I have plenty of wood now. Just cut up some of these other little bits and pieces here. I brought my axe with me today, just makes it quicker for chopping stuff up. It makes it way easier. And that is how you make a very simple sawhorse. If you're out cutting wood, I see people putting it under their knees and leaning it up against things. You can have a log, like one of the logs that I've got under there. You can lay it on the ground, do the same thing. Just put it up against there and saw it. But it's a lot easier to do that. You know, you got a bit of cordage. I just happen to have all my Velcro because obviously I have all my stuff on my pack today, so all my Velcro's there. So yeah, that is how you do it. Real simple, eh? You can process a lot of firewood very, very quickly like that. And it's easy too. It's easy on your back, and it's more importantly, it's way easy on your knees. Yeah, you do not want to be damaging your knees out in the middle of nowhere. So I now have a whole abundance of little sticks, which I'm going to put on there in a second. Clean up some of that over there by the buckets, and we shall be good. A bit later on, I'm going to make up some food and what have you. I did bring some food with me today, but I need some coals in there first before I do that, and I'll get back to you in a bit. I forgot to mention the see how many mosquitoes there are now? Yeah, exactly, just about none. Once you get some of that Spanish moss on there and you get a bit of smoke going, they don't like it. They're out of there. They don't want to be anywhere near it. Right, that'll do for a bit. Right, whenever you're out and about doing stuff, some of those out of there. Always make sure you don't have too much gear spread out. To me at the moment, this is just too much gear spread out. So, put some of this away. I don't like to have that much gear laying around. Old habits die hard, I guess. There we go. Right. Well, I was going to bring my tent today. I was going to camp out, but we're expecting some considerable rain. Down through there. Right. I can see a dark shape down through the trees. We become very good at spotting dark shapes. Yep, no, that looks good. On the way out here, I saw something dark zip across the road really, really fast. And I thought, what the heck was that? And it was big. So I slowed down and waited, and about 30 seconds later, moose goes across, another moose, and I thought, wow, that was close. And then as I'm driving down the road, I look in my rear view mirror, another one went across. 3 moose across the road, literally, and they're like little tanks. Those things just cross the road. You stop for a moose, yeah. You don't want to hit a moose. Yeah, you definitely stop for a moose. Right, I'm going to cut up a few of these bits and pieces. It's way easier with an axe just to knock off these bits. You're just taking some of this crap off of here. Instant firewood. These bits, I don't bother sawing these. Be careful though, because sometimes you'll hit a branch with an axe and it'll spring. See, like that? And see these top pieces? They'll get you. They'll smack you in the head and they hurt. Like I say, last thing you want is an eye injury or any kind of injury. So, if in doubt, put it on the ground. Done. This piece obviously knew where it was going. That's going in there. When you're trimming up branches, you end up a whole bunch of this little stuff laying close to the fire. Always make sure that you pick all of that up and get rid of it. It's all very well having a nice safe fire ring, but if you pile up a whole bunch of tinder literally right next to it, that's not a good plan. So let's make some more smoke. We are good. And that's how quick it is to knock up some firewood with a very simple stand. And then when you finish with it, you can just unwrap the Velcro, take these pieces off. Hardest bit of this Velcro is finding the ends. It is incredibly strong stuff. Like I say, anybody that does bushcraft and stuff, this, it's just that double-sided Velcro. Has the grippies on one side and the hooks on the other, and away you go. I bought a huge roll of that off of Amazon for basically peanuts. And what I do is I use that just for securing stuff to the pack, or if I've got stuff in the pack that I don't want rolling around or making a noise, I can just wrap it all up in that stuff, and hey presto, it's good. That black fire bucket is what that's normally around, and that's where the water's going today. That's I'll do that later on. Right, it's just flaring up a bit because I just put a whole bunch of those little pieces on there. Make some smoke, get rid of the bugs, and the world is good. I know mosquitoes feed a lot of things, and they are the bottom of the food chain, so they're actually quite important. However, I just wish they'd go somewhere else. Something else I do, you'll see me do quite a lot. I don't like cutting up perfectly good rolls of cord. Like I see a lot of people there just cut this to length, cut it off, cut another piece or whatever. Well, this is 150 foot of paracord. I don't really want to just chop it up into bits just because I need it for that location. So I had one piece of orange left over, and as you can see, that's the end of the orange, and I needed another piece for this corner, so all I had was my thin line. This stuff is incredibly strong. Always make sure you have some of this with you, and that's the remainder of the roll stuck on a stick. I don't like cutting up cordage unless I absolutely have to, you know. I know I have miles and miles of the stuff, and it's not expensive. However, it's no sense in cutting it up if you don't have to. See how this area is becoming clearer now. See, all those little bits and pieces on the trees, that's all thinning out. A lot of these really small dead standings are gone. Yeah, and that's how, if you camp in an area, you'll be surprised how quickly you clear all that kind of stuff out. So, yeah, yes, not a bad location. Like I say, I was going to camp today, but we've got rain and insane mosquitoes, so I think this will just be a day trip. Right, do some more later. Well, I did well. I actually found 3 more rocks. As I said before, trying to find rocks in here is a bit difficult. So, if I found rocks, this smoke is deliberate because the mosquitoes are relentless. So, Dave, by a smoky campfire, feet up, tea in hand. Oh, I've just thrown some small pieces on there. Actually, I've got a bit too much smoke now. There's always a delicate balance between not having enough smoke and too much. That might be too much, yeah. Oh dear, well that's good though. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably a little bit too much smoke. Let's move that round there. There we go. Yes, that's exactly what you need to keep the bugs down. Unfortunately, here in Melbourne, we do have some pterodactyl skeeters. They're like baby aeroplanes. Yeah. You don't want to mess with those. Right. So, feet up, tea in front of the fire. Got to have my signature shot. Oh, the more I drink, the less I carry, I guess. Yeah. But, that is a really good excuse to drink lots of tea. So, cheers people, enjoy the campfire. I'm just going to put some smaller pieces on there, get rid of some of that smoke. And then I think I'm going to come and have another cup of tea. I won't put that away yet. Let's see if I can get rid of some of that smoke. All you need is a little bit of flame. Get a bit of flame in there. Smoke goes. I'm trying to get rid of all these small pieces that I cut off, all the stuff that I cut up just now. I cut up another bunch, just stacked it up in my wood pile over there. have some flame, get the flame going, there goes the smoke. Real simple. And a nice little round log offcut. So I figured that was already cut. I don't have to cut that. Put some of those in there. Now I'm pretty happy with this fire ring at the moment. Like I say, once winter comes around or whatever, once I'm not using it, I'll disperse all this around, and you'll pretty much not know I'm here other than the cut branches on the trees. But for the moment, it's still a site I'm using, so I will continue to use it. But I am, since it's me, gonna have another cup of tea. And this is why I come out and do this stuff. So I can sit on a bench in the middle of nowhere and drink tea. A lot of people, they all make bushcraft videos for different reasons. And people have different reasons for doing it. Let me set that back up over there somewhere. Some people like to make spectacular, exciting videos. And I'll put this over here. Like I say, some people want to make really exciting videos all the time. And that's great. And somebody did say to me, well, you know, you can get all this fantastic video editing software and all that kind of stuff. LumaFusion is a really good one, and it's like one payment, $30 done. Yeah. As soon as my tech department, aka, gets back from Japan, then I will certainly look into LumaFusion. But I don't make these videos to have all these big fancy videos, and a lot of people make them for the purpose of making videos. I don't. I bring the camera along now. I've been doing this for 50 years. That I now bring the camera along, and fortunately we now have these little cameras that can record all this stuff. But way back when it was all photographs, and that was it. Ilford FP4 black and white. I can remember developing a lot of that. But nowadays we have all these amazing cameras that can do all this kind of stuff. But I make the videos because I enjoy making the videos. I enjoy coming out and doing this, and I bring the camera along just as a secondary thing. I don't do this to make stunning videos. A lot of people do. They all know I have these amazing YouTube channels, and they've got like 50,000 followers and all the rest of it. I have a few followers. I've got a few people that are subscribed to my channel, and if they like my videos, great, keep watching them. But I don't make them for entertainment purposes. I don't make them to be a stunning video. Hopefully people learn a few tricks from like the sawhorse, and you know, how to build a fire. Most people build a fire ring that big, and that's how big they make the fire. No, you make a fire ring bigger than the fire you intend to have in it. The only time I would have a bigger fire in there would be in the winter, when all this is surrounded by snow. If all this was a foot deep in snow, and trust me, it's a little while from now, there'll be 1 to 2 feet of snow in here, no problem. So I'll have to dig that out before I can use it. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Dave in a smokestorm. Yeah. Let's hide under the smoke. There we go. Gets rid of the bugs though. When I first stopped here, all the time you're moving through the forest, the mosquitoes don't tend to bother you so much. But as soon as you stop, they're like, and all you can hear in your ears. This is why I don't do the overnight camps with just a tarp and a bedroll in the summer around here, because it's not worth losing the 5 pints of blood. It really isn't. So it's anybody that's tried to sleep through that, literally millions of mosquitoes just relentlessly chewing on your face and your ears and your eyes and everything else. It's not pleasant, I can tell you, not pleasant at all. Anybody that's actually slept in a forest with no protection whatsoever, and I have, in the past I have done that, once you do that a couple of times, I can tell you, it's not something you do voluntarily, which is why I have that cheap tent that I bring with me. It folds up to nothing. If suddenly there was a big disaster and I had to run out of here, like right now, forest fire come in, whatever, I can pick up all this gear. I'm not worried about this. This is a $10, $15 tarp, whatever it was. $3 for some paracord. Nah, I'm out of here. Gone. So if this was one of those $250, $300 silicone tarps, yeah, great. You might be tempted to take it down, but that length of time might be the time that you need to get out. So that's why I like to have everything kind of set up ready so I can just grab it and go. Yeah. This to me is too much stuff out, but I'm still processing wood. So once I finish processing wood, all that stuff's going away. Once I've got some coals in here, I am going to make up some food. It's pretty quiet in the forest today. There's not much birds. There's not much bird song. The squirrels were making a lot of noise just now. Every time I walk around, the squirrels start up again. But, they just, oh, there goes that log. Let me get that back on there. See if I can stand that one up. If I stand it up like that. Put those like that. Excellent. Perfect. Let's put some more of those small pieces on there. Let's put some of those on there like that. There we go. It's a nice split wood. That wood that I split this morning is stuff that I cut about a month ago, and I've had it drying in that pile over there. That's stuff that I cut just now for the video. I will leave that there for a month or so, and then when I'm out here one time I will split it all up. But I like to have piles all the way down through here. I've got 30-foot lengths of dead standing stood up against trees. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got 6 lengths of wood, which is about yay round, about 3-4 inches round, all stacked up, stood up against the trees. And that's the way to do it, because it's up out the snow. Once there's 2 foot of snow on the ground here, it's going to be hard to find. Yeah. It does make a difference. When the snow here is this deep, it's going to be a little bit of a different campsite. But I can still get here in the winter. It's not too bad. It's only about, I guess, 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers, I guess, to here, something like that. It's not far. It doesn't take me long to get here at all. It's actually quite a pleasant walk. Yeah. That's a smoky old log, that one I found. It's a bit soft. Logs like that, if you had a good length of that, those are the kind of logs, that big chunky piece I got in there, that's the kind of logs you need for overnight. Slightly punky, but not soft like that other piece I threw back in the forest over there. You want them slightly punky, and you'll be surprised how that holds a flame and keeps the heat overnight. Even in the rain, it'll actually hold pretty good. Yeah. Ooh, they are vanishing in the smoke again. Yeah. That piece is a little punky. I did find it over there. Yeah, I think that piece is going to smoke. So I will switch this off for a bit. Yeah, it's just a short round. It's only about 3-4 inches round, but yeah, that's smoking quite a bit. So I shall turn it off in a second, and then when that lot's all turned to coals, I'm going to make up some food. So on today's menu, we have my favourite sausage rolls. These are spicy ones too. So it's very easy to do that. Just bring a fork with you, put a rock on the end of the fork, hold it close to the fire, just keep an eye on it so it doesn't actually catch fire, and hey presto, easy food. You set that up over here someplace. I didn't bring my big tripod with me today, but I wasn't sure how far I was going to walk, so I didn't bring a huge tripod. Let's put some more of these little pieces on here. Let that work its magic. You'd be surprised how quickly that heats up. Just got to be careful though, because you don't want to burn it. So I like them hot, but not burnt. So let's turn that over. So you just stand a rock on the other end. Hey presto, easy. You can make all kinds of fancy hangers and all that kind of stuff. And it's good to know how to do that stuff. There's plenty of really good bushcraft channels out there that shows you how to do all that kind of stuff. Kusk does a really good job of keeping alive some of the old skills on how to make bush prop hangers and making cordage and using spruce roots and all that kind of stuff. All that's good knowledge, but a $3 toasting marshmallow fork from Canadian Tire actually also works very, very well. It makes a good fire prod. I can use it for moving stuff around in the fire, so it does double duty. I like to make sure that everything I bring with me has two uses. So this is a funky piece of wood, right? See this kind of stuff? If you can find a log that's made out of this, like decent sized logs, those are good overnight logs, you know. But unless it's really knee deep in snow, I never ever leave a fire running overnight. Never ever. That fire is out before I go to sleep. It would have to be seriously cold and this deep in snow before I would leave a fire going overnight, because you get the wind up in the middle of the night and you wouldn't know about it. Embers blow into all this lot. You're waking up to a forest fire, and that ain't a good thing. Nah. Because now everything just changed. Oh yeah, that's getting nice. Yes, you do not want to be waking up to a forest fire. Looking at the amount of fires that we're having at the moment, people say, oh yeah, it's the worst fire season ever, and whatever. It is a bad fire season, but you've got to bear in mind that a lot of that bad fire season is man-made, because back in the day, the native peoples used to burn the forests regularly. They would burn the forest. They knew that forest fires were part of the natural cycle. We have become extremely good. I'm going to let that cool down because that is really hot. I can feel that. That's really hot. We've become extremely good at putting out fires, which is great, because you don't always want fires here, there and everywhere. But if you don't manage the land, then the land eventually builds up so much fire load in the bottom of the forest. This is pretty good here because there's greenery on the ground. If you look, I clear out a lot of these low branches, like all the fuel wood at the bottom. I clear out a lot of that because in the winter and the spring, all of this that you see that's in here green now on the ground turns into tinder dry grass. It's literally just grass, and all it takes is a spark, you know, one lightning strike somewhere near here, and all that grass just goes up. And it does, it burns really, really fast. But if you clear out a lot of this scrub at the bottom of the trees, it makes it harder, not impossible, but it makes it harder for it to climb the trees. I mean, if you look at this tree here, it's got all those low branches right down to the ground. So if a grass fire came through here, it can run up that tree really fast. And once the fire's in the canopy, trust me, it's a whole different beast. Yeah, when it's a grass fire on the ground, not too bad. Which is why back in the day, when there was literally millions and millions of bison and what have you running around, the forest fires, yes, there was still been forest fires, but it wouldn't have been as bad, simply because it's harder for a forest fire to get off the grass and up into the trees. And the trees would have been more spread out as well, because, you know, 2 million bison walking through a place like this, trust me, it gets bulldozed pretty quick. So, but that's one of the problems with our current forest management plan, is we need to have a serious rethink on what we do and how we manage forests, because these big forest fires are not going away. They're going to get worse. So now's the time to come up with a plan on how to deal with that. More responsible forest management, clearing out a deadfall. I know nobody likes to do it because it costs money. People don't like spending money. People only like making money. They don't like spending money. So, but unfortunately, if when entire towns over in BC, there was an entire town wiped out by a train. Train went through, sparks off the train, and it's pretty common. All the grass down by the railway tracks, whoomp, up it went, took out the entire town. I think it was called Lytton, over in BC, wiped out the entire town, and that was from a train going through. So, had the grass been managed and all the scrub been managed closer to the train track and cleared all out, hey presto, you wouldn't have had that fire. And since everybody knows that trains, as they run along, they can create a lot of sparks. If you've got a grass build up next to the railway line, clear it out, get somebody down there, clear it out. Everybody says, oh, it's not my job, it's not my job, it's not my job. Well, it's now somebody's job to rebuild the entire town. So same as in Hawaii at the moment. If you look at the problem they had there, that started in like scrubby grasslands basically up the mountain, blew down the mountain really, really fast and just took out the entire town. Literally hundreds and hundreds of buildings burnt out. Sadly, a lot of people are now dead and missing, and all that started in grass scrub. That is a problem that should have been dealt with before it happened. People need to look at a situation. I'm looking at this forest. If I owned this particular piece of land, if this was my land, all of this down the bottom here, I would be in here and I would brush all of this out, all down the bottom, all this little dead standing and all this down to the ground. I'd get rid of all that. And it makes a huge difference to the forest too. It makes it a much nicer forest. The wildlife certainly likes it. Better for the greenery and way less fire risk. So yeah, there are things we can do. It's very easy to keep saying somebody should do something, somebody should do something. Well, be the person that does something. You don't have to get paid for doing it. It's just be the person that does something about it. So yeah, right, that's why I'm paranoid with my fire buckets. Yeah. I think 3 fire buckets is probably a little bit extreme. That's what they call paranoia, I think. But I would rather have too much water and not need it than need it and not have enough water. So the creeks aren't running very well at the moment, so it actually took me quite a bit to fill up that black bucket just to get enough to bring up. So right, I will stop waffling. My sausage roll has cooled down to a point at which I can now eat it, and I'm going to enjoy that. Oh, that tastes good. Sausage roll o'clock, feet in front of the fire, sausage roll, can't be bad. This is the first decent bit of food I've eaten in a couple of days. Not been feeling too well for the last few days. Yesterday I ate, what did I have? 2 slices of toast yesterday. That was my entire food consumption for yesterday. Yeah, not been feeling too good at all. However, I'm not one of these people that has to have 3 meals a day and all this kind of stuff. I tend to eat when I get hungry. I do forget when I come at places like this. I sometimes forget to eat. I'll be out on a trail or halfway up a mountain somewhere and go, oh crap, haven't eaten anything. And you suddenly start feeling like you need to have something. So I always have food with me. But last couple of days I really haven't eaten much at all. Like yesterday I had a couple of bits of toast and that was it. Yeah, I've not been sleeping good at all. So either way, I seem to be on the mend a bit, so that's good. So I decided to come out here for a bit of a walk today. I find it's worse if I lay down, so I come out for a bit of a walk and clear up some of this firewood, have a nice relaxing campfire, have something to eat, nice sausage roll. Oh, let me tell you, that tastes really, really good when you haven't eaten properly for the last couple of days. That sausage rolls like a whole meal, all in one. Yeah. Smoke's coming again, so I will put some small stuff on there and get rid of some of the smoke. Well, that sausage roll was so good, I'm going to have another one. Yeah, it's just enough heat coming off of there now. Trust me, there's a lot of heat coming off those coals in there. But, just warm that through just nicely. And so that's the easiest way to do it. Fork, rock, sausage roll, fire. Don't get much easier than that. Yeah, that's good though. Clearing up a whole bunch of this small stuff in here, that's good. And it just helps keep rid of the mosquitoes as well. That has to be a win-win. I have more tea left, so I'll have some more of that. I have my shelter set up because if you look up there, the sky is pretty grey, and I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to have before it starts to rain. Not too long by the look of it. Either way, once I get under my shelter's pretty good. It's just a tarp. What is this, 10 by, I think it's 10 by 12, something like that. I could put a nice edge along there as well, but that doesn't really matter. I've got a stick in the middle holding up the roof, and I should actually put my hat on the top of there just in case the wind gets up, because if the wind gets up with a stick under there, it can actually punch a hole through it. So I should actually put my hat on the top of there, which I shall do in just a second. So this is definitely the best way to have a shelter. It's tall enough I can stand under here. Rain's not going to get me under here. I can just pick up my bench and move it backwards. Job done. Put my bench up against this pole. Hey presto, nice and dry. Alright, I'm not letting my fire get too big. I'm trying to keep it as small as I can, and my sausage roll should be just about done, I should think. Right, you go and check that out. Now that's how you get rid of mosquitoes. Just put a whole bunch of that on there. Mosquitoes have left me alone for a while, but I was letting the fire die down a bit, just keep it under control for size, and the mosquitoes all started coming back. So just put a whole bunch of that green on there, and as you can see, smoke's pretty good. Bugs hate smoke. The only problem with that stuff, I can see the smoke starting to change colour. It gets kind of browny tinge to it, and then that just means it's going to go up in flames in a minute. Once the flames start, all the smoke will disappear, but in the meantime, it's getting rid of the bugs. Oh, look at that. Instantaneous mosquito get rid of. Yeah. I don't want to put too much smoky stuff on there, because we do have fire watches in the mountains, and the southern forest at the moment is under an extreme fire ban. We are still high. There we go. As soon as the flames start, then all the smoke goes. But that just shows you how quickly, see how quickly that goes up. So now imagine the bottom of one of these trees. You get fire in the bottom of one of these trees, just that's how quickly it can run up the tree. It's as quick as that. It can run up a tree faster than you can move. So yeah, slowly but surely clearing out a lot of this low deadfall here. And it makes for a good campsite. Humans only have to camp in a spot, as I've said before, for a few days. Now you'll notice I've moved the bucket because it looks like it's going to rain. So what I'm going to do, since water is hard to get in here, I've set the bucket up underneath where the dip in the tarp is. So if it starts raining, all that water's going in the bucket. That saves me carrying it uphill. The water source here is at the bottom of a pretty steep hill. So the more I can collect off that tarp, less I have to carry up the hill. And these buckets over here, I bought these with me today, and then at the end of the day I will tip those into the bucket as well. Try to keep the bucket full. Always make sure, see there's a stick there up against a tree. If you're going to leave a bucket of water out somewhere like that, by all means do, but put a log in it or a big stick in it like that, so if any critters get in there, they can get out. That they can just walk back up the stick and then they can get out. Yeah, so yes, lesson learnt on that one, I guess. Right, yeah, there we go. That's how quickly the smoke vanishes though. However, gets rid of the mozzies for a little while, so that's good. Right, I'll do some more in a bit. And that is how you leave a campfire. Literally a soggy soup. That's how a campfire should be left. Always poke holes in the ground, just to make sure, let the water drain into the ground. Not that there's anything under here that's going to burn. This is all subsoil under here. But if your campfire doesn't look like that, people, it's not out. I just put that 2 gallon of water on there. I have my bucket plus the small container. Still had a little bit left over, so I put that in my bigger bucket. So next time I come out, my bigger bucket is even fuller. So that's good. I've got about 4 gallon in that bucket. Yeah, that's what a campfire should look like when you're finished with it. If it doesn't, get it out. So everything's put away. Firewood's all stashed. Bench is stashed. The sun has finally decided to come out. I packed up a little early because I could hear thunder that way. So I thought, oh, okay, don't want to be out here in the middle of a thunderstorm. That can get quite violent this time of the year. And the cloud is building. I can see some tall cloud through the trees there. And looking at the way the cloud is coming, it's coming from that way. And if you look, You can see the trees are starting to tell their story. Once the trees start to tell their story, they start moving around. It's time for me to move out, because it's nice at the moment, but I've got about 5, maybe 6 kilometers to go back, so good idea for me to head out now. As you can see, Campfire is water slowly soaking into the ground. There is no heat in there whatsoever. I've walked up and down on it 3 or 4 times. I've soaked it down 3 or 4 times. If Campfire don't look like that, it's not out. So fire safety is a big part of what we do. Right, I'm going to pack up the rest of that stuff, get it all put away, and then I'm going to head out of here. And I think that will do for my day, I think. Yes, everything's nice and tidy, put away. Like I say, I put a, let me just show you what I do here. That big log, that big stick, there's a big stick in a bucket. Reason being is if anything falls in that bucket, it's got a way of getting out. So yeah, it's great storing water, and like I say, there's probably about 4 gallons of water in there. It's a 5 gallon bucket, and it's probably only get another one in there, so always handy. It's a spot I come out to, and it I never ever light a fire unless I have a means of putting it out. And to me, a means of putting it out is lots and lots of water or snow, whichever's better. Yeah, once we get in the snow season, I don't worry about it so much. Right, I think I will call that a day. I will head out now. The sun is actually glorious, and I will call that it for the day. Thanks for coming along.